Are you doing testing 1 2? Just say testing 1 2.
Oh, testing 1 2.
Gotcha. All right. I was supposed to have our producer here to help you, but you're gonna talk to me. Make this work. You know how we have a budget.
I do understand that.
So, give us your name and spell it for us, please.
Diane Bell McCoy, DIANE BELL hyphen MCKOY.
And you're with?
I'm with Associated Black Charities. I'm the president and CEO of Associated Black Charities.
All right, great. You can talk to me.
Okay.
Great. So tell us the state of mental health right now, and particularly Black people. You know the Black Mental Health Alliance.
Yes, yes. Well, first thing I have to say about Black Mental Health Alliance is the Black Mental Health Alliance was very instrumental in helping me. In some ways, a very indirect way, but some ways such a critical way. I talk about my therapist, and particularly therapists I have now that I've had off and on for the past 10 years. I actually got her as a referral from the Black Mental Health Alliance. Yes. And so the Black Mental Health Alliance is really a great source for referral, a great source for information, but it's also a great source for advocacy in terms of understanding that Black mental health is really about the health, and for me, the economic health of America. And so it's not just in terms of mental health where people want to silo it, but the Black Mental Health Alliance has an important role in changing the economic outcomes in our community. There's so many challenges in our community, particularly for men that are unemployed and for women, that are related to their mental health, that are related to the trauma that they experience, that are related to lots of the policies and the institutions that cause some of those traumas. So I think Black Mental Health Alliance has a critical role in changing this epidemic, but an epidemic that they can help this city, this state, this region understand that it really is about economics if we don't change this.
Tell us something about mental health in general and how it affects our community.
Mental health in general is really about, again, is about the whole person. In terms of people, it's not as taboo. In terms of the challenges that all of us have varied degree of mental health challenges. Whether we feel like we need to see a therapist or not, we all have various degree of stress in our life that impact our mental health. I think it's now coming to a point in our country where we're beginning to recognize the importance of talking about mental health issues, from the very minor to very major, and openly talking about it, that it's no longer taboo. And when we reach that critical point to talk about it openly in the Black community, and particularly in our faith institutions, we will have turned a corner significantly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just give me your name and tell us who you are.
Okay, my name is Dr. My name is Dr. Cynthia Major Lewis. I'm a psychiatrist with Johns Hopkins. Am I looking at you or looking at? Okay, I'm sorry. My name is Cynthia Major Lewis. I'm a psychiatrist at Johns Hopkins. I direct our emergency department, work in our community psychiatry clinic, and I have a private practice in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Can you tell us a little bit? Do you know about the Black Mental Health Alliance?
I do.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about the Black Mental Health Alliance, why it's important, and also why you have focus?
Okay, so I know of them because as a psychiatrist in a urban area, there's not too many African American psychiatrists. The patients that I treat are, our clinic is probably 80% African American. That organization is pretty much a liaison and an advocate, for our patients, and can provide resources. Okay.
I think you're good. I think you're good.
Okay.
I'll make sure I hold you.
Okay.
So I didn't have you doing triple duty.
Okay, I'm sure.
I was volunteering to down south, so I'll make sure I got my thing. Okay. All right, so go back to what you were saying about the Black Mental Health Alliance.
So could honestly know more, but I do know that they're an organization that we need to kind of liaison with more. I know for me, being on the medical psychiatric end of it, I know that I just see a lot of patients where I feel like, we can see them in the clinic and see them in the hospital, but then what happens when they're out in the community, there's a lot of loss to follow up. There's a lot of kind of reentry to the emergency department for lack of follow-up, and to have more organizations that can really be a source of support for our patients, I think will help kind of improve better outcomes, keep people out of the hospital and keep them well.
What's the state of mental health now? I mean, I heard you say something earlier. Glad to see the direction that things are
Yeah, I tell you, I have been very impressed with this conference. I started residency in 1997, finished in 2001. Have been involved in several conferences with really just trying to get the African American community to be more aware, to be more open, to look at what stigma does, what just our culture and how we look at mental health. I've got stories to tell about patients I've seen who couldn't even tell their family that they were seeing a psychiatrist. And today, it's just really nice to see just the acceptance, how people are being applauded for opening up about their experience. And I think more events like this will help other people to realize that there's nothing to be ashamed about. Mental health is what it is. It's mental health. It affects us all, and when it's not appropriately treated, it impacts families and individuals, and it can kill. So I'm just very pleased to see that it just seems like the word is really getting out there about destigmatizing and getting treatment and not being ashamed, and this isn't a character flaw, and don't just pull yourself up in the bootstraps and don't just pray about it, that you really need to look at it for what it is. It's an illness, and it needs to be treated, and it'll be better for everyone, for us to continue to, keep the progression moving. So I've been very pleased and very touched. So.
great. That's great. Thank you. So you have a problem. You practice.
Thank you. All right.
And I don't know if you can see that, but
Yeah, because that'd be distracting. Yeah, I'm good. I look all right. Oh,
great.
thank you.
Well, all right. Just need you to tell me your name and spell it for me.
Oh, sure. My name is Erlise Ward. My first name is spelled E-A-R-L-I-S-E, and my last name is Ward, W-A-R-D.
And you are
I am an associate professor at the University of Wisconsin in Madison in the School of Nursing, and I'm also a licensed psychologist.
great. So you work with mental people and you're in mental health.
Yes. I am primarily at the university doing research, but in the research that I do, I work with individuals with mental illness, in particular depression. I'm particularly interested in effective treatment of depression among African American men and women. We have high rates of depression in that population. And when they do have depression, it tends to be more long-term chronic depression, and they're also not seeking mental health services. And so my research is really designed to get a better understanding of what might be going on with individuals and what might be preventing them from seeking services. And I've developed a behavioral treatment that is more sort of culturally sensitive to African Americans. And in my research, we're testing it to see how effective it is in treating depression in that population. Again, with the long-term goal of getting more people in to get help and to get effective help so that they can then resume the quality of their life and have a pretty healthy, normal, productive life.
What are some of the biggest barriers to our people, to African Americans, coming to grips with, okay, I have this concern, I have this issue, I have this thing, and it's really going to help?
It's a great question. We have a number of barriers. We certainly have the issue of access, so not having health insurance. You need health insurance, which often comes through your job. And so if you have a serious mental illness, chances are you may not be employed, so you may not have health insurance to then seek the professional care that you might need. So we know access is an issue. Even more serious is the issue of stigma. In the African American community, when people are mentally ill, we think of them as being crazy, right? So nobody wants to be perceived as crazy. And so unfortunately, people suffer in silence. They don't talk about it. They isolate, they spend time alone. They don't have the support network helping them. And so what happens is that it spirals and the depression becomes worse to the point where some people may become suicidal and could actually take their own life. So it's just really unfortunate that stigma is a major, major barrier. And in fact, it's so major that a few years ago, our former Surgeon General, David Satcher, did some research, and he said that even if we gave African Americans health insurance, we gave all of them, even the ones who had mental illness, health insurance, they would still not seek professional help because of the issue of stigma, because they don't want anybody to think that they're crazy. So it's a real issue, real
Sometimes,
issue.
like being crazy, some guys use it as like a rite of passage. So, because I'm crazy, man, you know I'm crazy. But that's two different crazes. Like, it gets tied up to ego. They really need help.
Right, exactly. And then and it's unfortunate because the help is available. Why suffer in silence? Why affect the quality of your life versus going in and getting some help? And they don't realize, we think that you're crazy or you're weak to get help, not realizing that getting help actually makes you stronger. And in fact, going to get help means that you're strong. And as you continue to get the treatment, you become even stronger.
That's a good point. So, what do you see the future of, if there's, I mean, how to quantify a future, but in terms of the momentum that's going now, you know, how do you see this, you know, getting better, getting more access? Or,
Right.
You know?
We are moving in the right direction, for sure. With the Affordable Health Care Act being passed, we have more people who didn't have access to health insurance that will now have access to health insurance, which would then mean that they would have access to care. So that's definitely moving in the right direction. There is certainly the issue of stigma, and that is ongoing. But I think as we begin to have more talks and conferences similar to the one that we had today, where we're sort of getting folks from the community to come in and hear the information and increase their awareness and knowledge about the information about mental illness, they take it back into their community. So we're hoping to see some sort of spread, if you will, of just getting the information out there. And we think that with accurate and appropriate information, then we may begin to see people becoming more open and more comfortable talking about the issues and possibly seeking help. So we're on the path. I mean, there's still a long journey, but we're definitely moving in the right direction.
That's a great segue. My last question is, who should be here next time? We do another conference, we have all professionals here.
Right.
Who really should be at this conference?
That is an excellent question. We need to have more grassroots. We need to have more people from the community. We need to have community leaders because folks listen and they pay attention to folks in their community. We need to have more pastors from some of the African American churches. We need to have them here because people listen to their pastors. So if you're struggling with an issue, the first thing you do is you go talk to your pastor, right? And he will tell you, pray about it. And indeed you will pray. And indeed you'll ask him for scriptures to read. He'll give you and you'll do that. Chances are if your pastor says, well, maybe you need to call up Dr. Ward to talk about maybe getting some professional help, chances are you will. So we need to have grassroots. We need to have leaders in the community. We need to have the pastors here. And we need to have just average folks from the community just come on down and learn more about it and think about, okay, how can I get the help that I need, and how can I give this information to other folks in the community that might need it? People within my home, my own family members, as well as people in the community. How do we spread the word? So I think just getting key people here next time, more grassroots, more people in the community and local, I think we can really begin to see a huge impact. Because when you have these conferences, and you only have professionals, then it's like you're preaching to the choir, right? You're singing to the choir, right? We need the congregation to be here, and the congregation are the people in the community.
That's perfect. So I'm sitting thinking, it's like, okay, we're preaching.
Inka Lawal, and I'm with Wombwork Productions Theater Company, and I have a catering company called Ola's Catering that does healthy cuisine. And I'm here at the Black and Blue Conference on Black mental health. And I had a wonderful time sharing my own story.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
You talk to me, actually.
Okay.
So what do you think about this conference today?
I thought it was excellent. I thought, it was very informative. The people who gave presentations gave wonderful analysis on prenatal health care, how mental health of mothers affected children, how our past history of oppression affects our mental health, and how stigma can affect our resources in reaching out to get help for our mental health. So,
Why do you think events like this are important?
just to get the word out of how, helpers can better serve our community in a better way, in a better fashion, and also how people who are underserved can really go out into the community, tell their own story, and begin to get help and get resources. So,
All right, great.
yep.
That's it. Anything you want to add?
That I thoroughly enjoyed it, and thank you very much for having it. I hope to have many more.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Get your microphone.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank
All right,
you.
have a good day. Nice weekend. All right, give us your name and tell us who you're with.
Okay. My name is Pamika Lee. I'm with Baltimore. My name is Pamika Lee. I'm with Baltimore Healthy Start. I think this conference is really important because it brings awareness to the African American community.
Awareness to what?
Mental health.
There you go. Someone said raise awareness for mental health. So go again.
Okay. To raise, you want me to go all over again? I believe that this conference is important because it brings awareness to the mental health awareness to the African American community.
All right, great. That was easy, what? All right, just tell us why you think conferences like this are important.
Conferences are very important.
Conferences about mental health.
Conferences like this are very important because there are so many issues in the African American community that we have to talk about mental health issues. We have to bring it out of the closet, and we have to bring practitioners together to get some ideas, get statistics. But really, it's an urgency now in the African American community, the mental health issues, in terms of just awareness. So getting practitioners together is a very, very, very good idea.
You give us something, a blurb for the Black Mental Health Alliance. Why is the Black Mental Health Alliance important?
Oh my goodness. The Black Mental Health Alliance is so important, and this is in fact even more so important because the basis of a lot of the issues that are going on in the African American community are really tied into mental health. And that really hasn't been addressed. So you hear people talk about education and health, but no one is really dealing with the mental health issues. And that really ties into so much. It ties into family issues, and it ties into education. It ties into everything. So by addressing that, I think we have a much better chance of success.
Great. Give us your name and who you're with.
Who I'm with. Okay. You ready?
Yes.
My name
Talk to me.
is Naomi Corbin Booker. I have had a consulting practice for a number of years, but I am at the moment retired.
Okay.
Okay.
So why are you here today? What do you think about this
I'm
conference?
I'm here today because I am a strong advocate for mental health and mental health education across the spectrum in the African American community. Why? Because there is such a major stigma in our community about mental health and mental illness. Okay? I myself have depression. I was one of the people in the video that was shown today. That was my first step of coming out, acknowledging that I had a mental illness and that I was getting treatment. And so I don't think we can have too many ambassadors to carry the message. I think our churches, our fraternal organizations, organizations of all kinds, and our schools need to play a more active role in educating at all ages people in our community about mental health and mental illness, and in particular, the resources that are available to help people.
Great. That's great. That's not what I want. Why do you think, so conferences like this are important? I mean, you said it all, you summed it up.
Yeah,
Great.
they're important because
They're not
they...
going to hear me. Something like conferences like this are important. So
Conferences like this are important because they get a lot of information out to a cross-section of people that would not otherwise gather in the same room. It is their interest in the subject matter or the speakers that brings them together. And I think there's enough on the menu of the program that every person gets to take something home that they can use, if not personally, then within their sphere of work or socialization.
Great. Thank you.